Hey, yo, one more win for the good guys. Welcome to week 15, Superflex Fantasy Football Show. Glad to have you. Glad to be back after a awesome weekend of great football and an unfortunate Bears loss against the Green Bay Packers. I got my guy Nomad with me. D-Nice may be coming in sooner or later. I do have to apologize to the world because we're a little bit tardy. I say we, and I mean me. With regards to laying up the thumbnail in the show. But we're here regardless. We're doing the darn thing on Twitch. We're doing the darn thing on Facebook. We are doing the thing on YouTube. By all means, jump in. Give us your fantasy football questions for the week. Outside of all that, we'll chop it up here as we always do and start to move things through some of these players and start-em, sit-ems, and some of the injury stuff, and we'll get through one more week because right now I think we are all kissing the playoffs. So Nomad, how are things going, man? How's the week been for you?
Week's been good, man. Very good. I just doing a lot of stuff for the network over there, getting shows ready. Got most of it taken care of. Was about to finish it up, but got called out to do something for a friend of ours, man. I had the last minute thing he asked me to do. I had to knock it out. So he got me off of my workflow a little bit, but plan on finishing up for the show tomorrow night. Other than that, fantasy wise, I just came off a 4-game win streak, took a L about 2 weeks ago, and then got on another 2-game win streak. So I'm sitting in okay position, I guess. I don't know how many teams are in the Superflex fantasy, but I'm in 6th place, I think. So I don't know. Hopefully I can finish this thing strong.
Well, let's look at that there, shall we? All right, let's take a closer look at that. I'm going to share up. So bear with me as I pull up good old sleeper.com. We love Sleeper. Sleeper does us very, very well. We're going to share on this side first, and I'll move over to other things. So looking at the league, Superflex Fantasy League here, man. I'm taking a bath. I had a bad week, man, and I'll tell you why. Me and you talked about this actually during the game. I loaded up Jaden Daniels, and that was basically to my detriment, for lack of a better thing to say, man. I thought Jaden Daniels might come back in and have himself a decent week, starting as the quarterback for the Washington Commanders. And he went in the game, got hurt real early, scored me about 3 points on the week, and that basically destroyed my week of football. So starting things out, I'm at 5-9. I think I just got bumped out of the playoffs this week. We're gonna have to really see what that looks like. Now,
how many players make the playoffs? How many teams make the playoffs?
I believe 4, if not 6. I think I made it 6 this year. So right now it all depends on what look at this log jam. So Ridgeback is leading it. That's I believe that's Jim Hunter, man. Jim Hunter's leading the show. Telecos, I can't remember who Telecos is, but he's got 9-5. Sin City Rebels got 9-5. Jawan Chase Me, the Crooked Commish, got 9-5. Bear Down DZ, that's Slick D Nice. He's got 9-5. Everybody right there is in a log jam together, and you're just underneath them at 8-6 as the King of Pop. Trailing behind is the villain King Booker World, 7-7, and the dude at 7-7 as well. Shout out to Nick, man. I ain't seen you in a minute, Nick. Big love, big shout outs as always. Hopefully things are going well. Black Rain is trailing just underneath, and then we got a log jam at 5-9 with myself, the Naj, Team Impeccable, Big Samo, and Mo Fugra is hurting. He's got 4-10 at the very bottom end of this thing. So that's what the league looks like. Let's see if I've got – so 6 teams are in the playoffs as of right now. So if I go to matchups, no, back to where I was. 6 teams are in the playoffs, man. So top 6, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, brother. You just made the cutoff somehow.
Somehow, hopefully we can maintain that. Somehow we gotta just keep rolling, man. Just keep plowing through cats, man. Again to the playoffs, I feel like I got a pretty tough team.
Well, that's how things look for you on your side. I'm now a little bit worried on the Superflex Gangster League side. I believe it's the same general setup. So let's look at the league. I know there's a massive logjam here with the Superflex Gangster League. So Pete Dog, my boy Chris, he's leading the league, and he's been a beast for a very long. Holy smokes! He's been a beast for a very long time, man. He's generally at the very tippy top of these things. Team Jive and Dive is number 2 with 8 and 6. Marietta CD Lamb has 12 wins on the season, 2 losses. He's crushing it. Everybody else, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams all tied with 7 and 7. And there's a couple of stragglers with 6 and 8, 6 and 8, and 3 and 11. I don't know how that's going to shake out here with respect to the playoffs and 6 teams with 8 teams all tied. So I got to figure this out as a commissioner, figure out what the heck happens now. I don't know what happens now. Go figure. But yeah, everybody's tied up, man. That's crazy. And I should have man.
Fantasy is so unpredictable, though, man. It's just
look at this. Look at this, brother. 36 to 42 to 136 to 142, and my quarterback pulls in 3 points. If I just left Trevor Lawrence, I win this week. No questions. I'm in the playoffs. No questions. Instead, I'm tied up. This is garbage. It's because I've been calling Jaden Daniels RG4 all season. That's why.
That's what you get. I don't know what the hell you were speaking.
Well, what I was thinking is he keeps getting hurt, and guess what happened?
Oh God,
he got hurt again. So there it is. I guess I jinxed myself. Is what
in no world would I have done that. I'm gonna tell you why. You gotta look at some other aspects of this little thing, and I think you gotta realize, man. You know, probably a couple 2-3 weeks ago, they knew it was a wrap for them. So at least 2 weeks ago, let's just say at a bare minimum.
Yeah.
Now you can is Jaden Daniels as good as he can be. You got to imagine how many people are pretty much 1, 2, 3 Cancun this thing. You know, who's making plans for vacation? You know what I mean? Just because you think a quarterback is good doesn't mean everybody's gonna come to play. And I wouldn't have never taken Trevor Lawrence out of that starting lineup.
Man, I didn't trust it. And he had a decent week as far as football is concerned. Jacksonville's doing well in the AFC. Never should have taken the.
Who are they playing this week?
Say
who
what?
Were they playing last week? Talking about Jacksonville.
Let's find out.
Was that the Falcons? No.
There he is. I'll tell you right now who they played this week here. So in week 14, they played the Indianapolis Colts. That's a tough football game, man. That's part of the reason why I pulled them out. But to make things make sense, Danny Dimes gets hurt early in that football game, and that's where things went the other direction.
The big news is, guess who they're bringing in to replace him?
Let's talk. Let's start the show, shall we? Right. So, boom. So they're bringing in this guy, which is the craziest thing I've ever heard. When I clued into this just earlier today, I was like, they did what? They signed Phillip Rivers? Oh boy. Phillip Rivers is back, y'all. Back playing for the Indianapolis Colts. I don't think he's played. How long has it been since he played football? I think it might be it's a couple of
years, 5 or 6 years.
It's been a minute since Philly's played football, period. But here he goes. He's back in Indianapolis. And you know what, I got to ask the most obvious question in the world. You know things are bad when your tippy-top quarterback selection from a couple of years ago gets replaced by 5 years out Phillip Rivers. Whatever happened to Anthony Richardson? What happened to this guy?
He got hurt, man.
Oh, he's on IR. Okay, well there you go. RG5.
But you got to think about the mentality here. You know, they feel like they have a team that can get into the playoffs and anything can happen right now. They think they have a good enough team, and they got reason to believe that you go make a Hail Mary, take a Hail Mary shot like this. You know, the only thing I have no doubts about what Phillip Rivers can do with his arm. I just worry about, you know, how many hits can he take at this point, not being hit for all these years. Number one. Number
Wow.
two, here's a good thing. There's a little caveat to this now. A lot of people may or may not know that he knows his system. He was with Shane Steichen, I think, his last 2 years, maybe the last year of his career in San Diego. So that, I mean, you talking about putting a guy in place and knowing right away, knowing exactly what to do. This is you couldn't really draw up a situation better than this.
He's that kind of vet, right? He's been around the block. He kind of knows what's going on. I don't think there'll be any surprises. Him being with Steichen for the time that he was, you're right, man. It allows him to come right into the situation and basically, you know, be effective. And the other thing about Phillip Rivers is he tends not to take a lot of sacks. Why? He's just a wily vet who can get rid of the football.
Quick release. Now it's just about knowing his personnel. KYP.
That's it, right? So we'll see how this all goes. I will have to say that if you are rostering Alec Pierce, Joshua Downs, Michael Pittman, probably going to be a bit of an off week for you. I'm going to say Tyler Warren may still be dangerous and viable this week just because it's a quick hit situation to that big-bodied mismatch in the center of the field. Everybody else, though, like the writing's on the wall, you may want to seek waiver support. You know what I mean? So just being as real about that. I don't know what the actual passing game is going to look like under Phil Rivers here.
I think mostly what people want to know is he a viable pickup on the waiver wire? And I'll say yes for couple different reasons. We got a burgeoning playoff team, number one. Number two is what we just said before. You got quarterback issues. Phillip Rivers' accuracy, his efficiency he's always been next level, and nothing changes about that with you, even if you're away from the game for a few years. I think the only problem I would worry about is, you know, durability at this point, because I know what Phillip Rivers can do with his arm.
Well, there's also the fact that they got a tough go this week against the Seattle Seahawks, who've been playing great football. Their defense is a pretty decent defense too, somewhat overlooked, but still decent. It's going to be a questionable week with respect to all things Indy.
Got a question already.
Hang in play. There he is. Respect to the Twitch community. He says, "Hey man, I got a couple questions for you guys. Would you trade Josh Jacobs? Yes. Sorry, for CD, as in CD Lamb. He has the first round bye. And also, would you trade Saquon and Ted McMillan for Gibbs? Yes, I would actually do both of these trades.
Hell yeah, I would.
No arguments here. It doesn't sound like, not from me, not from Nomad. I would definitely, right? Like if you're losing a powerful running back like Josh Jacobs, the upside is CD Lamb, who's having a career season, no questions. Him and Dak Prescott are something special over there, as is George Pickens for that matter. As is a couple more wide receivers over there that I can get into here in a minute. And you having the first round bye gives you that week to relax a little bit. And Saquon Barkley is just not Saquon Barkley of old. However, Jahmyr Gibbs is something special. So losing a wideout here is really what you'd be losing. You're not losing anything. You're losing a wideout. You're getting one of the best wideouts in the game. You're losing a running back. You're gaining one of the best running backs in the game. This trade here, brother, sets you up to win your fantasy football league hands down. Got to say it. Make this trade twice on Sunday.
Hell yeah.
Yes, sir. All right. So getting into some of the – where is this guy? Do I not have you up here? I don't have you up here. Where are you at now? All right, let's pull out the guy I'm talking about. So we started talking about these guys here. And Ryan Flournoy. So he stepped onto the scene this week and made a little bit of noise. 36-point week in fantasy football against the Detroit Lions. Pretty solid football foray for him. 100 plus yards, plus a touchdown. Just recall that whoever the third receiver in the progression is in Dallas is probably going to eat. Dak Prescott's really stepped up his game. And the fact of the matter is, CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens are eating up the league. So be careful. You know, if you're the Minnesota, oh boy, they're up against the Vikings this week. This should be lunchtime snacking for anybody holding on to Dallas Cowboys offense. Not to say that the Minnesota Vikings defense isn't dangerous, but this team just happens to have a plethora of weapons that will make it hard to rattle the cage of Dak Prescott from a defensive perspective. So keep your eyes peeled on Ryan Flournoy if you need yourself a
I would most certainly consider flexing this guy this week. I always think about the intangibles, man. And I think just because of the way you probably haven't heard that Pickens kind of had a messy pamper the entire game. You know how he is when he's not getting targeted, he starts to stink it up. And so I don't know that, depending on, Jerry Jones is probably involved in some of these conversations about that. And I don't know that you repay a kid that is in a contract year when you're not getting the ball, you start stinking it up like you do. Why would you? So I would have no problem flexing Ryan Flournoy this weekend.
Well, I'm gonna tell you why. Look at these numbers. That's why. Numbers speak for themselves. This is the worst week he's had all season. Right? But again, facts of the matter is he's playing so well that teams are going to double team him. They may double team him and CeeDee and let you attempt to eat with single coverage on Flournoy, which is really what happened this past week. He's in double digits every single bloody week of the season. Okay, week 1, where he's just coming in, and week 14, only 2 weeks where he's been a little bit behind the 8 ball with regards to his numbers. So that's why, man. That's why you pay him. I'll also say that I believe they knew he was a bit of a head case when he came over. You know what I mean? Like head case wide receivers in Pittsburgh and the Pittsburgh Steelers go hand in hand. You should probably know what you're getting from. If Pittsburgh is trading a wide receiver, they probably just couldn't handle him anymore or couldn't take him anymore. That goes for Antonio Brown. It goes for Chase Claypool. The list is really long, to be honest with you. And here's another example of that. It's also the reason why my favorite team, Pitt, decided to pass on him. They well knew he was a little bit attitudinal. There's a good word, right? There was that the verdict on that was out in the draft. So folks knew he's played well regardless. I think he's played lights out for these Dallas Cowboys, even when CeeDee Lamb was down. So they'll pay him. He'll get his money. Mind you, it again may just be a situation where he's not able to get the numbers he's looking for. He still got 9 targets this week. Heck of a lot more than DJ Moore. Oops, did I say that out loud? Yeah, I did. But there you have it, man. That's how things look in Dallas. We'll just give Dallas a little bit of look again. They're going up against Minnesota. Definitely viable offensive start for anybody involved. So I'll put that out there. Minnesota's in a bad way right now.
Very bad.
All right. So we talked a little bit about these guys. We'll go on to other folks. This is a young man that I just dropped off of my fantasy football team and probably would have brought me to a win this week. I feel terrible, but I have to stand firm on the move. So this past week, Tony Pollard, because his last better part of the season, things just weren't happening. And I mean, we're talking about the Tennessee Titans here, right? Not good things are not happening in Tennessee. The one shining light in Tennessee for me was Tony Pollard as a running back, and unfortunately, his numbers just did not justify me keeping him on my squad. Why though? Like I'm all about overloading the running back position. Why I actually ultimately dumped him was that somebody in my league during bye week let go of Ramondre Stevenson. I also have Travion Henderson. The run game in New England moving forward, now that they're back off of bye week, is ridiculous. I'm going to say it's a guaranteed 30 plus points if I handcuff these guys and roster them both for the playoffs. So I went out on a limb, dropped Tony Pollard, who I was actually starting, picked up Ramondre, looking towards the playoffs and potentially rostering them both moving forward. So that was the plan. We'll see if it was a good plan next week. But for the rest of y'all, 62% roster, 26% started. Tony Pollard might be out there on waivers potentially. If he's on your bench, you may want to think about starting him in the near future up against a heavy defense in Cleveland. He ran for a whole lot. 2 tutties, 161 yards. That's pretty crazy. 44 plus fantasy football points here on the week.
I don't know how sustainable it is, though, kids.
It's not.
This how many games they played? 13, 14 games. The stats don't lie to you. They don't have a viable passing attack, and teams will more and less load up the box and keep Tony Pollard from being a weapon. But whatever happened, Cleveland did not. They kind of played it safe, and they didn't. And he got loose on a few runs, and though he got a few chunk plays. I wouldn't say that he had a good game overall. He just had a few chunk plays. I don't know that this is a good start for anybody moving forward because they can't throw the ball.
Well, that's just the Tennessee story, and the facts of the matter is, you want to get as far away from Tennessee as humanly possible. There's nothing else to really even talk about there. Elike Omeyer has had games here and there. Jamari Dike has had games here and there. Chiga Kwankwo has had games here and there, but there's nothing consistent happening there with respect to the pass. Boxes will be loaded. It ain't easy being a Tennessee Titan. So worst comes to worst, they're also at San Francisco this week, and San Francisco traditionally has a pretty decent defense. I'm not sure what they do against the against the rush, but I do kind of expect it to be a run heavy. I do expect it to be a run heavy situation with Tennessee. So if you need a guy, Tony Pollard might be a guy. Whether it works out for you or not, very hard to say. Nothing good happening in Tennessee. Where things are a little bit more interesting is Devin Singletary in New York. Giants are shaky. Very similar conversation, right, with respect to the quarterback and what's happening. They were on bye week last week. Singletary has sort of finally taken on his role again with Cam Scadaboo being out. Took him a couple of weeks to get acclimated, but he's finally coming back into his role. Might be a decent look against a Washington Commanders team that's, as we sort of said a little bit earlier on, this is a divisional game. Said a little bit earlier on, they are probably looking at boat drinks right now and thinking about Carnival cruises. So
now defensively, a note there is that the head coach has taken over the reins as defensive coordinator, and they've gotten a lot better since then. pretty stout against the run. I ain't gonna say they world beaters, but since the head coach is taking over the reins at calling the defense, those guys have been much better. Just saying, they've been much better.
Okay, well, about time. He knows what he's doing as far as that's concerned. Yeah, except for that one time in the Super Bowl. But I digress. In any event, keep your eyes peeled for Devin Singletary. 46% rostered, 5% started out there in the woods. By all means, grab this guy if you need a running back. He may be your saving grace. Hopefully, you have better stuff at this point in the season. We'll leave Devin Singletary. We've touched base on Tony Pollard. Another guy that you may want to look at is Jaden Higgins. Higgins didn't have the greatest week this week against Kansas City, but that's fine. They wound up taking the game anyhow. Thing is, CJ Stroud's back. The passing game is slowly but surely coming back into effect. At least the way that they expected it to look. It's starting to look like that again. Nico Collins is playing good football. Right now, the remaining passing game is going through Jaden Higgins as a number 2 wide receiver and Christian Kirk, the number 3. Christian Kirk in Kansas City did even worse. Virtually nothing, nothing going for him. So I don't consider Christian Kirk really the number 2. As you can see, they have him listed, Jaden Higgins, as a number 2 wide receiver right here as well. So keep your eyes peeled against an Arizona squad that's hungry. And when I say hungry, not necessarily for a playoff berth or anything like that. I think it's really, really a situation where Jacoby Brissett is just proving to that team that he can hold down the fort. And I think he's doing a great job as a quarterback. I actually have him rostered as well. That being said, if you need a guy, Jaden Higgins might be a guy. He's not heavily rostered, 47% rostered, 19% started. I'm not sure what kind of output you're going to get week on week because things are still sort of in flux with CJ coming back just now, right? So we will move on. Any thoughts on Jaden Higgins?
I think this is actually a good start because I project this game to be a shootout. One thing I know about Jacoby Brissett is they're going to score points. He's going to deliver the ball. And they're going to, even though the Texans have the number 1 defense in the league, this team can score against anybody with Brissett back there at quarterback. So I can see them getting put. I'm talking about the Texans getting put at a disadvantage and them having to have a shootout with the Cardinals easily. And Jaden Higgins has solidified himself as the number 2. One thing that I know that Arizona does, they play some zone, and the quarterback Stroud is decent at finding holes in the zone. If they start rolling coverage, like I expect that they will do, start getting over the top of Nico Collins, this is going to be a guy that gets a lot of targets along with the tight end.
Brilliant. I completely agree with that take as well. You're saying the tight end as well. That is a good call. Dalton Schultz is having a decent season. Actually, all these tight ends are having a decent season. The other guy on the flip side who's having a pretty decent season is Woody Marks. I expect a fair amount of output from Woody Marks against the Arizona Cardinals as well. Keep your eyes peeled. Do I feel he's the best running back in this stable? Absolutely not, given the stable. But in today's world right now, he's that lead guy. He's doing quite well. Keep your eyes peeled. Only 80%. He's 80% rostered, which is pretty high. 50%, 54% started. Keep your eyes peeled. He may not be available at all, but wanted to point some eyes at a young rookie running back who's making some waves. Who else we got? So we talked about Mr. Higgins. Let's talk about Jalen Wright. So things are kind of shaky in Miami. My home, away from home, away from home, away from home. A little bit shaky out there. No Cheetah. Jaden Waddle is a shadow of himself. Same thing with Mike McDaniel. Don't know what's going on. I thought he was a brilliant offensive mind. Things are not so brilliant anymore. And Tua Tagovailoa is really turned into Tua turn the ball over. Mind you, when he isn't turning the ball over, he's looking for another wide receiver. And there's two that have sort of piqued interest throughout the season out, with the Cheetah being down. That is Malik Washington being one and Jalen Wright being another. So keep your eyes peeled. May get himself on the field. 6% rostered, 1% started. We'll see how he does in running back capacity, right alongside your guy, Devon Achane. So he's questionable for the week, and this is where young Mr. Wright, really steps in as a viable option. So keep your eyes peeled here with regards to whether Devon Achane or Devon Achane, if you will, whether his designation changes throughout the week. But as of right now, it's not looking great. And that brings Jalen Wright to the forefront as a potential RB maneuver for you guys. So there's that one. All right. 23 points on the week this week against a lowly Jets team. Remind me never to bet on the Jets again. Just keep that as an aside. Definitely got in the end zone here at least once. Targeted a few times in the passing game too. Fair amount of carries. So that's really based on the fact that Devon Achane didn't suit up or didn't suit up for very long.
No, he played. He got, what happened was he got hurt early in the game. He had a rib, came back and ripped him. So I don't know exactly how long he was out, but he played for sure.
He came back into the game?
Yeah, he came back into the game, ripped it. And, I don't know. That, to me, if you see what I saw, he's definitely going to play this week.
Holy smokes, he still put up 22. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So we'll see what it is. Maybe he gets a rest. I don't know what they wind up doing here. But between the two of them, they put up 40 plus on the ground, 100 yards for Wright.
They were
92 for Achane. So interesting. I don't know what they wind up doing. Maybe it's a 1-2 punch now that they've seen what Wright brings to the table. But
well, they still have Ollie Gordon, I think, down there too. So it's I wouldn't trust the backup running backs to do anything. If Devon Achane plays, I wouldn't mess with him.
I'm with you. So that being said, it is week 15, y'all. The waiver wire selections are very thin, man. Just got to put it out there. I'm giving you what I can, but it's tough at this point in the season. Hopefully you have what you need or can make viable trades to finish things out. In many leagues, trades deadlines have come and gone. So there's also that. I have to touch on a certain Mr. Shedeur Sanders. What a week in Tennessee. Now, we can attribute that strictly to Tennessee. I do not, and I repeat, I do not believe Shedeur Sanders will have any output remotely close to what we're talking about here against the Chicago Bears defense.
Wow.
Yikes. Why? Because the Chicago Bears defense versus the Tennessee Titans defense is a night and day situation. Literally that simple. Chicago should have one of the better secondaries in the league. I am going to say that their secondary has been somewhat hurt over the course of the past few weeks. So it depends on who's starting. If you hear that Kyler Gordon isn't starting this week, if you hear that Tremaine Edmonds is not back this week, if you hear that Noah Sewell is only on special teams again this week, these are conversations to be had which somewhat weaken the Chicago Bears secondary. Also, Jalen Johnson's just getting back into football form. he may not be. I believe he's kind of lost a step after going out and going through surgery on his groin, etc. So it's still questionable, but then you got guys like Nashawn Wright and maybe Tariq Stevenson will be back in the fold. He's another guy who was out this past week against the Packers. So I just don't expect this to be a walk in the park for Shador. From a passing perspective, I think
there's no walk in the parks for any NFL quarterbacks on any given Sunday. Now, to take my Chicago Bears hat
maybe against the Tennessee Titans, though. You know, that's what I'm saying.
I don't know about that, but I'm going to take. I got to take my Chicago Bears hat off on this one. And to be honest with you, if there's a team, there's a handful of teams. I mean, about 5 teams that really struggle on their passing defense as of lately. I don't know if Shedeur Sanders, this isn't a good matchup for him. I think it is. I'm not saying the Bears won't come away with some picks and maybe a fumble recovery or something, maybe a pick, maybe a fumble. Who knows? But I don't think the Bears defense as of lately, because of all the stuff you just said, not 100% Jalen Johnson, not having Kyler, not having Tremaine. These are big key factors. Yep. I think this is a good start. Just to take my Bears hat off for a second, I think this is a very good start if you can get your hands on Shedeur Sanders.
Interesting. Well, keep your eyes peeled. I do. Here's what I will say. I do expect numbers to look like what they look like in this list against the Las Vegas Raiders. I expect them to get between 20 and 22 fantasy football points on the week. I also expect them to have 2 interceptions against the Chicago Bears, one from Kevin Byard, one from Nashawn Wright. It's the rest of the field we got to worry about. That's just my 2 cents there. I also don't expect many sacks. I don't think he'll get sacked at all. And with that being on the table, he'll have a lot of time to make plays.
What happens is, the thing about Shedeur is that I know he's extremely accurate throwing the ball, especially in the middle third of the field. And what did the Green Bay Packers exploit with the Chicago Bears? The middle third of the field, quick slant, gone. Those kind of throws on blitzes, cover 0, cover 1s. He can see that early, hit his crosser, and you got a long day for your defense. I'm telling you, this is a good start, dude. It's a good start.
Interesting. All right. I will not argue this one. I just don't see 50 points is all I'm trying to say. If it's a 50-point day against the Chicago Bears, they need to go back to the drawing board. That's a big conversation to be had there. But again, Bears versus Cleveland Browns this weekend should be an interesting football game, especially with the Browns defense. So keep that in mind too. Chris Rodriguez, I've sort of flirted with the idea of putting him on the thumbnail for weeks. That's just my 2 cents. I'm going to say that he's probably going to have a 10-plus day this week against the New York Giants, mainly because, again, RG4 isn't playing. So if Jaden Daniels is not playing, the game plan is going to be a little bit run-heavy, and that really gives Chris the opportunity to put up some numbers for your team if you need it. So I would say exactly like the good folks at Sleeper are saying here. I'd say he's a touchdown-dependent RB3 on your squad. Best case scenario. If you need one, he's probably out there. He's only 60% rostered, 36% started. You can probably find him on the waiver wire as well.
Well, if you don't mind, let me give you a little take here. Another aspect to consider. Number one, just some truths about football that ain't gonna change, and just from experience. Look at the weight on that some gun. That's a 225-pound back that don't nobody want to tackle. The colder it gets, they ain't so willing to tackle this guy. He's a thumper, and the Giants could have is it the Giants they play?
Yes, sir.
Out in the cold, this ain't gonna be fun. Not for the imposing the defense that has to tackle this guy. He's gonna be a load, man. He's gonna be a handful to deal with. I would expect him. I'd say he's probably a 15-point minimum score.
I would not argue with that. I think I think this matchup for both Devin Singletary and for him, it's going to be a whole lot of running the football with a lot of, for the Giants, with a lot of Wan'Dale Robinson sprinkled in. And I'm not sure how Scary Terry's doing over there. I think he might be hurt. No, he's ready to go. Yeah, a little bit of Scary Terry layered in for Washington. Debo gets the ball every so often too, but I don't think it's going to be a gimmick play situation like it usually is on a regular week. So we've talked about the fair amount of the guys I wanted to get to. We'll get to a couple more as we go. Phillip Rivers has been talked about. No real reason to talk about Trevor Lawrence. No real reason. Trevor Lawrence does the thing he's supposed to do. It ain't super special. It's 20 points a week for the most part.
Well, can I offer a suggestion for a fix a lot of people are going to need right now?
Before you do, I will just say that Trevor Lawrence versus the New York Jets is probably a 25 to 30 point situation. So there, just from a matchup perspective, that's why I had him up here. But where's your brain headed?
So a lot of people are going to be hurt, and because of the Zach Ertz injury, he's out for the season. So a lot of people are looking for a tight end this week to replace that. And I got a suggestion for you.
Okay.
Mike Gesicki in with the Bengals.
Cincinnati? Yeah, he had a great game this week. He had a great game this week. I was watching bits and pieces of that game as well. And he really, 20 points on the week on 6 targets. That's pretty hard to do. 86 yards and a tutty. Yeah, so Joey B's back, y'all. You know what I mean? That's really the way that looks. It's unfortunately went down and was down for as long as he was. And the only reason I'll say it's slightly fortunate for this guy is because I've taken Joe Burrow 3 out of 4 years. This is the first year I decided not to take Joe Burrow and draft him early and went with Jaden Daniels to my detriment. Whoops. But at the same time, if I'd selected Joe Burrow, I would have been in a much more precarious situation. So Joey's back. He's slinging the pill. And
can't depend on Joe Glass, man.
You don't think so?
Can't depend on Joe Glass, man. He's brittle.
Bruh, I can't say he ain't brittle, but what I can say is if he's on the field, it's 30 points. You know what I'm saying? Like he's that guy. So 26 for your tight end. I guarantee you T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. Oh, a slow day for Jamar at the office. 10 points. Where's T. Higgins?
It was Gesicki and T that did the eating.
There you go. You know what I mean? So that just means that Jamar was double teamed all day, and 30 points for T, right? So it kind of is what it is. You will see that output with them. Heck, you'll see it with Joe Flacco too. Worst come to worst. But all that being said,
that. Also, if you have, still looking at options to replace Zach Ertz, another guy as it's getting cold, and you got outdoor teams, that Pat Fryer move if you can get him. He's not been putting up gaudy numbers or anything like that, but the colder it gets, trust me, the dump downs and check downs are real.
I don't know about this one, and it's just from track record this time around. They've started to really lean on these other 2 guys. So Jonnu Smith, nothing either. Slow for Jonnu Smith. No catches on the last week. The other guy that they've leaned on is this guy, and he was out this week. He went out. Oh, he's in concussion protocol. So maybe you're right. Maybe Pat Freiermuth is going to be the guy this week. Exactly. They've started to target Darnell quite a bit, but I did see Darnell go down. I wasn't sure for how long it would be, but if it's concussion protocol, he'll be gone for a week or 2, maybe more. So Pat Freiermuth is not a crazy look with regards to the tight end position. Let me see here. I'm going to get back to tight end with you in a second. Just wanted to touch base on LB3. 11 points on the day, 6 targets. Not bad. I expect better and more. The real question is, does this guy come back? So if you happen to have Luther Burden, he's only rostered in 37% of leagues, 14 started. You may want to take a look at him if Roma Dunze is still out in week 14. Just means increased targets for LB3 for Luther Burden III. And if that's the case, numbers may begin to get better because, in my opinion, they need to get the ball out quickly and or run the ball, but get the ball out quickly with Myles Garrett running wild in that backfield. So that's that. Let's take a look at these tight ends that you're talking about, because I know there's more. There's definitely Colston Loveland again. If same case scenario happens, Colston Loveland and Cole Kmet both should have had touchdowns this week. Harold Fanning is a guy you kind of have to look at. 67% rostered, 49% started. He's having a hell of a season. Pretty decent season from a fantasy football perspective. Regular targets, 11 targets this week. Looks like Shador likes Harold Fanning. 35 fantasy football points, 414 yards on the week, and a touchdown. So keep your eyes peeled. I suspect potentially similar things will occur in Chicago. Those numbers could be had, especially over the middle of the field, just like we were talking earlier.
Very dynamic weapon right here, but good luck trying to find him on the waiver wire right now.
That is facts. That is facts. So Mike Gesicki, here's another one that is of interest. I don't see the numbers here. But I kind of have a feeling that the word on the streets is Ben Sinnott might be your guy. Just saying.
Let's see. I liked him coming out of college. I think he came out of Kansas State, did some pretty good homework on him. He's a solid. Thought he was one of the better ones that came out in this draft class. He's what is this? His first year. He's still in his rookie year. So
yeah.
Well, he's a. I can't verify that he's a good option this week, but I like this ability coming into the league a lot.
I think we both do.
He could be a sneaky pick right now. I wouldn't if I didn't think highly of some other players, I definitely would go this direction.
Yeah, he has he has an opportunity in front of him with Zach Ertz down. I thought Ben Sinnott looked great, just like you're saying. I thought he looked great in college. We scouted him a fair amount, thinking that if the Bears had an opportunity to do it, maybe you grab a guy like this. Somehow he wound up in Washington and just hasn't quite gotten any shine. With respect to Zach Ertz, hard to beat that guy out of his position. But at this point, all you need in today's NFL is an opportunity. So I think this may be just that opportunity he's looking for against a slightly weak Giants secondary. That's my thoughts there.
Big target, great catch radius.
Yeah.
Can move a little bit after the ball. It wouldn't be a bad pickup.
Not at all. Won't get into Dalton Kincaid, Bretton Strange. Here's the other guy that I would look at with regards to the tight end position, and that's AJ Barner. AJ Barner's a bad MF, y'all. He's had a couple of really good weeks. These last few haven't been it, but I could see him being utilized very well against the Indianapolis Colts this week. If you need it, keep your eyes peeled. Do what you can to get him. There's one last guy that I would talk about that I don't know how believed in he is. Remember this guy? His name is Darren Waller. 41% rostered, 17% started. You might be able to find him on waivers. He might be out there sitting, waiting for you to grab him. Didn't have a great week these last 2 weeks, but ain't a whole lot going on with respect to the passing game. Tua is looking for targets. And just considering he only got 3 targets in these last 2 games and he's been hurt for the last little while, I expect those targets to increase once he sort of gets back into form. And it's about that time for Darren Waller. So keep your eyes peeled on Darren as well. Cool. What else we got? Quarterbacks. So we talked about most of them. Nothing really to write home about here, y'all. You know what I mean? Nothing really to talk about that's of note. Aaron Rodgers, J.J. McHandoff, Brock Purdy, Tyler Show. These are the guys that you're going to probably find on waiver wire. If you can find a Brock Purdy on waiver wire, you are in a great place, right? Brock has immediately come back and put up numbers the way that he normally does. But again, it's Brock Purdy. You get what you expect. That's quarterback, running back, anybody I overlooked. So I did overlook Blake Corum. We'll touch on Blake right now. So 38 points, 40 points on the week. Definitely deserved to be on the thumbnail this week. I didn't put him on this week because I put him on last week. 128 yards on the ground against Arizona. These guys are going up against Detroit Lions and the Detroit defense. I expect the Rams to run the football, right? They're going to run the rock. I don't know if he's going to get into the end zone twice like he did this week, but most definitely the Rams are going to run the football. So between him and Kyron, very good look, awesome handcuff case scenario. But the reality is Blake Corum's only rostered in 50% of leagues, started in 16. You can probably find Mr. Corum floating around the waiver wire as well. Who else we got out there? So we talked on Jalen Wright, Devin Singletary, Tony Pollard, and Chris Rodriguez. I suppose this guy's a guy that deserves a conversation, and that's Kenneth Gainwell. He's had some really decent weeks these last few weeks. The Pittsburgh passing game isn't fantastic. Even with Aaron Rodgers and DK Metcalf, there's some room to grow. That being said, Kenneth Gainwell's really taken over the reins, running the rock. And in Week 15, I don't see it being any different against the Miami Dolphins. So much like Pat Freiermuth, this is a guy that if you can find him, he is 75% roster, a little bit tougher to come by, 50% started. If you can find Kenneth Gainwell on waivers, do it. I think it's well worth your while. I did talk about Ramondre a little bit earlier on. They're up against the Buffalo Bills. So far, the Bills have had a heck of a time stopping the run. So I expect it to be a double dose of rock running with TreVeyon Henderson and Ramondre Stevenson. These are hard names to say 3 times fast. Don't try it. But in in any respect, keep your eyes peeled on Ramondre. He's 58% rostered, 6% started. What I've found is that, again, now that TreVeyon has taken a little bit of the onus running the rock in New England, people have sort of looked at the numbers of good old Mr. Stevenson and potentially dropped him, and that's how he wound up on my roster. Hopefully similar things happen for you. What else do we got here, man? Anything else of interest? So Cleveland versus Chicago. The Jets are against Jacksonville. Jacksonville would be a viable defense to start this week, just given that situation. Who else is of interest to talk about here? Definitely.
Cowboys defense is a great defense to start this week. It's a pretty good one.
Who are they up against this week? Do you know?
I looked at it earlier, but I like the matchup.
I'm going to tell you who it is here in a second if I can find it. No, Say Cowboys. So week 15, Dallas plays the Minnesota Vikings. The Cowboys defense is getting better. I have to put that out there. Matt Eberflus has had a heck of a time with this defense earlier on in the season, but at this point, he seems to be doing okay.
JJ against JJ McFluke, I'm taking him every day, twice on Sunday.
I would as well. I would definitely take a Matt Eberflus defense against a rookie quarterback. They're going to be looking to take the ball away, especially with respect to the secondary. So I think that's something that could happen.
They also, man, you got to always remember when you got teams that are playing, they have a small, narrow tunnel path to the playoffs, and they may need some help, but they're going to play with their hair on fire. And I think they're going to be looking at chops going after J.J. McCarthy. I think they can get him for a couple, 2-3 picks, maybe a fumble recovery. It can get bad, man. Dallas defense is trending much better at this point, man. I do love the matchup. If you're looking for a defense, I think Dallas is a good pickup this week.
I think you're right. So Dallas, Jacksonville. I think the Chicago defense is good for two interceptions again this week. I don't see win, lose, or draw. I think two turnovers are happening in that particular game.
Good thing about the Bears is they rarely this year have played 2 bad games in a row, or lost twice in a row. You know what I mean? They usually pick up the pieces pretty good. You know, this is, a tribute to the coaching, but I do like the Cowboys defense better than them all right now.
So New Orleans versus Carolina. I don't know who to call with respect to the defense there. That one's a little bit tough. I would just say it's a bad game for everybody. Who else am I looking at? Anybody else to talk about with regards to defense?
In this weather, also, before we get out of here, kids, it's also important to make sure you pick a kicker in these weather conditions, man. Who knows what it's going to be across the country, but I know up here in the north it's pretty cold. And so you're talking about a lot of running the ball, a lot of stalled out drives, getting into beyond the 40-yard line. Your kicker could have some pretty good games, man, right now. So good to get your pick.
Right on. Vegas is also playing the Philly Eagles. Eagles defense will be worth your while this weekend. Lions versus the Rams, can't call that one from a defensive perspective. And then you've got the Chargers versus KC. KC's defense has been playing well, but their offense has not. I did say Jacksonville over. New York Jets is probably the big defensive play this weekend. And Atlanta against Tampa Bay. That's a bit tougher to call from a defensive perspective. Cincinnati versus the Bengals, same answer. That'll be a good football game for everybody to watch, so stay tuned to that. All that being said, Nomad, any parting words, man? We'll move on to getting the heck out of here just a little bit early as we burgeon into the playoffs, and you do too. Looky there. Maybe I'll touch on that tomorrow night. Check us all out here, whether you're on Twitch, YouTube, or other. We will be doing what we do on Wednesdays, and that is sprinkle a little bit of extra sauce on the world. Come check us out at 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern, as we discuss all manner of interesting things, starting with your favorite football team and mine, the Chicago Bears. We then will move into food and drink and what else? Maybe aliens and underground bunkers and who knows. But that being said, we'd love it if you'd join us. Give us a like, share, subscribe at Keds the Canuck, and do the same thing on the Nomad Network as well as on Sports Chicago Style. We'll be triple streaming the way we do every Wednesday night. One more time, we'd love to have you. That being said, Nomad, any parting words, brother?
I think you said enough. You said a mouthful. I just wanted to say thank everybody for being here. Everybody that's going to watch it on replay. And you guys have a great evening, man. Have a great afternoon. Well, evening.
And with that being said, one more win for the good guys, y'all. Good luck in the playoffs. Keds the Canuck, Superflex Fantasy Football Show. We out. Peace.